It is 7 o'clock on October 25th, and I call to order this Townsend Housing Authority meeting. If I could get a roll call, please.
Laura Schifrin here.
Jazz Sexton Duranian here.
Yeah, you're breaking up. Natalie Call present.
Thank you, Nana. And Courtney Bradley present. This meeting is being recorded. If we could do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. 1.5, any additions and deletions to the agenda? I don't have any at this time. Does anyone else?
I do not.
1.6, State Representative report.
I actually have had a couple of things that I've been looking into. One of them, can you guys hear me okay?
We can, we're getting a little bit of feedback.
Maybe Natalie, can you mute Natalie? Can you mute?
You're breaking up.
Can you mute Natalie? Actually, that sounds better. Does that sound better for you guys? I did reach out to DHCD. I do have a rep that I work with that's there. She was
I
on
can't hear a thing.
She was on vacation this week, but I did set with her aide. I set an appointment to talk next week, next Thursday, in regards to our next steps, in regards to regional planning for housing. There are a couple of options available that I'd like to put forth in our next meeting in regards to some of the things that are available to us. I had sent out to, I believe, everybody an agency that just opened up in Fitchburg. And I'd like to be able to have you guys take a look at that and see if you'd be interested in bringing them in and having them talk with us. That would be part of a regional effort so that we don't have to recreate the wheel in some of the housing projects that we're looking into and some of the zoning changes. They might be able to help us out with that. And as far as what I have upcoming, I have two major meetings. One of them is a housing. It's under the housing. The governor has a committee that sets up for to promote housing within Massachusetts. I'm slated to go to that. And the second one is funding for affordable housing in Massachusetts. That is a sort of like a seminar that's set up. That's going to be I think it's the 9th of November that I've signed up for. And I'll bring any pertinent information to the board at that time. But outside of that, that's my report.
I did look at that resource you had sent over. I was a little unclear exactly what they did, so I think I agree with you. It would be good to have them come in and talk to us specifically about what we could do together. I think it wasn't really clear on their website exactly what they do for towns.
Yeah, it's my understanding is it's their goals are to assist with increasing housing in the certain areas that they work with, helping individuals with housing options. And I think that's part of the thing that we as a housing authority need to look at, because we don't have the resources right now to be able to assist some of our residents in that. I also believe that we need to talk with our community services representative. She can help us out with some of that as well, on what we need. But I believe that we need to really look at what we need to do, how we need to do it is what they're going to help us out with, and then move forward from there.
Okay. We're going to move to number 2 under the work session, which is the we'll skip right down 2.1.1, the multifamily bylaws example. So I did send over a draft for everybody to take a peek at, and it kind of hits 3 particular things in here, which is single family, multifamily, and cluster. Did anybody get a chance to take a look at that and have any comments right away, or do we want to run through this?
I think we should run through,
Yep.
but I would, if I may, make a comment from a planning board meeting last night.
Mhm.
We had the public hearing on age restricted housing. It was just a change to the bylaw. And there was quite a bit of discussion from the public, and Chaz, you could chime in if you I missed something that you would like to add. But it seemed that everyone was in favor of reduced size lots where applicable, where it is possible. There was some more talk about open space, and I actually suggest that you take a look at that
Yeah.
part of the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, which is the public hearing on the age restricted housing.
Yep.
But also met with Adam this afternoon and Beth in reference to a couple of articles that we're working on, and expressed to them that we were working on this at the Housing Authority to recommend to the planning board some changes to be made, hopefully sooner rather than later, but that it should be tweaked, probably looked at every year. And as he mentioned, there are communities that look at them every year because they're a living document.
Yeah.
So that you kind of go with the times,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yep.
Chaz, did you want to add something to that because you were in attendance?
No, I agree with you. I mean, it was an engineer, it was the zoning board and the planning board. I thought it was a great discussion. It was the collaboration that we really need in town with all the committees. I agree. But I do believe that, the reduced size lots is something that we need to look at. We need to make sure. The big takeaway I thought last night, Lori, was that it really is the Board of Health that is the controlling factor to a lot of these decisions that are made in any of the boards. So if it does fly by the Board of Health, then we really need to look at it as options. We also talked about overlay districts too, Courtney, which I thought was it was a very healthy conversation.
Mhm. Was there any clarity around the aquifer overlay district that came out last night?
I wouldn't say that there was any clarity, except that you're still governed by aquifer, wetlands, conservation,
Mhm.
whatever property you're looking at. And that's why the bottom line is the Board of Health,
Yeah.
because they're not going to let you do anything in an area that's going to hurt any of those things.
Yeah.
And it's not that we have an abundance of open space. We have an abundance of state-owned and
Yeah.
local-owned property, non-tax base.
Mhm.
One of the, it might have been me that made the comment, I don't remember, but regarding the fact that we have no growth. We can't grow our tax base.
Right.
So if we don't do that, everyone is gonna pay. I guess that's it.
When I was looking through a lot of our stuff in order to get a little clarity on that aquifer overlay district, one of the things is that the RA, specifically says residential aquifer. And that's, so I think there maybe is some confusion around if it's really tied to it specifically to the RA district or if it's not. The way it's written in our bylaw today, because it talks about an overlay, but then the residential A is residential aquifer, so it's a little bit confusing.
Yep.
I think in the way it's shown today, and I can pull up where that.
I don't think I could explain it.
Yeah, I agree. I've talked to a couple people. I haven't gotten as far as I would like to in terms of talking to some people around it, but I think that there was actually confusion that people didn't realize that RA actually says in our bylaw residential aquifer. So that's why I think there's maybe we need a little clarity around the terminology too of that.
Well, that's definitely something that we could probably talk to town council about.
And why would we have, I mean, I'm looking at the single family right in front of me from your first.
Yeah, my first one.
step.
Yep.
And if this is proposed changes.
Yeah, so I've got in here what I listed was the existing and then proposed right below it, just so that people could see the comparison of the two.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, just so in the italics, it's the existing, and then right below it says proposed, just so you can see where we were.
And just in the article that we have for age restricted, the frontage is actually 100.
So it's gone
So
down to 100 on the age restricted
it's
one.
on the age restricted, in fact, it caught my eye yesterday. I don't remember every document that
I
goes
know.
through this town. I still have a job, like you, like Chaz,
Mhm.
like all of us. So I don't know why, I mean, 100 feet is a pretty good size for frontage.
Yeah, and I think part of why we looked at 150 last time was just based on the other neighboring town examples. I think we had thought that that one was a good one, but if we feel like we can go down a little bit more.
Well, what I feel is, we're looking at other towns that are, yes, like size, maybe like population,
Mhm.
but do they have as much open space as we do? Do they have as much state-owned land as we do?
Right.
No, I think they have more opportunities where they can still have,
Yep.
you know, construction where we have not.
Yep.
So I'm not so stuck on being that similar to them
Yep.
when we're not.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Dillis last night had a good point when he addressed that, Courtney. He's the civil engineer. He said that, you know, it is due diligence for us to go out and look at other towns and compare. He says, but you also have to take the character and where the plans are for the town into consideration. I think that's where we need to, I mean, we've been resting on our laurels as far as what our bylaws are concerned, but we need to really see what is our major goal here. Number one, the housing authority's goal is to increase some affordable housing. That's number one. Number two is, and I think this is more reflective of the town as a whole, is that we're trying to increase the tax base as well. So it's not only assisting the affordable housing piece of it, but we're also trying to raise awareness that we need to increase our tax base, and these are the options that we have that are available to us with the land that we have to be able to do that.
As far as the zoning, and I'm working around this, I know that Bill mentioned from zoning mentioned decreasing the lot sizes, in particular in the downtown areas, but I really see it as townwide, not just downtown. And it's funny, but the properties that we've been talking about for a year, 18 months now, that we had opportunities with, nothing has still happened.
Right.
And the thing is that the properties that we're also talking about are still vacant. They're still not developed. Although I know the owner of Central Plaza is working on a new septic system now, and I haven't heard the progress there. But that, although mixed use, he's not sold on mixed use. I mean, I was excited about him doing that there. But now he's just thinking about taking the big space and dividing it and having other people come in. You know, like somebody from there wants to expand, you know, and open up another space. But that, I don't know that that's the highest and best use for that, but then it costs money to do the highest and best use. So, and it isn't like we give, I don't know that they get much of a tax break down there because they have vacancies, or because, you know, they need to put in a whole new septic system or anything like that. And that does not promote business. So
So I guess to get back to this piece of it is that in here, I've only addressed the RA and the RB district in particular. And the way it's addressed right now in our land use table in terms of residential in the other districts is it's really just a footnote at the bottom of it that specifically is saying we basically need to have 2 acres unless you're in the Aquifer overlay district for a residential use in those other ones.
Mhm.
So we could try to amend this footnote, I guess, for those other districts when it comes to a single family. We're talking about single family specifically at the
Yeah,
moment, just because
okay.
we're on that category,
Mhm.
to be closer in line with the things that we're proposing here.
Yep.
Right.
So another comment that another planning board member, Mr. Therian, brought out is that is there you have 3 separate historical districts within Townsend itself too, and some of those, well, I think all of those districts are in areas that in our housing production plan were marked that it could be potential growth. So do we need to consider or put into consideration anything in regards to that? Like I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Growth in the historic districts? And. did I
Well,
say-
if
Did I hear that right?
if we are looking into overlays or we're looking into is there RA districts that are in the historic area? I think there are in West Townsend.
What was that question? Are there historic districts in RA? In West Hampton? The same in West Hampton?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't know, is there a historic around the VFW? Or,
I don't know how far that district goes.
I can go look at the maps. Let me look at the maps.
I mean, something we can
You could- yeah,
consider
it's-
when we make those recommendations, certainly.
I'm just saying that we need to be sensitive of those as well.
Can't
Well,
really see enough on the one online. It's very unhelpful.
still, even if we're in there and it's a particular district, the district's gonna have, there's only certain things you can do, right?
Yep.
As far as building and it would have to
Yeah.
go before the historic.
Yeah, you still have to do that. You can't
Okay,
bypass it.
So I think that pretty much covers that. I don't know. I think that's a given that if you're doing something in the historic district, you have to go to them. I don't know that we have to.
It's not a common thing. People are doing things in that district and not even realizing they're in a historic district. And I see Jody shaking her head yes.
Oh, but isn't that supposed to be, doesn't that get flagged at the building department? Like when someone
Sure,
goes to
it
pull
should
a
be.
permit, they are not supposed to be able to do it unless they've gotten approval
It should
for a
be.
particular district. I mean, that's the way it works.
Yeah, I mean,
typically.
typically, but sometimes they have to be on where the district is and where it lays and a lot of it is,
Confusion around that.
yeah, a lot of it right now is little outliers of the historical.
Mm.
And then, of course, people just do what they want, don't pull permits.
Yeah, I know that happens.
That's a lot of it. And that's the majority of it.
Is that second one?
Does the historic commission, and I forget if it's, because I know there's 2 bodies, but I'm not sure who does what. Do they periodically contact those owners in the historic district?
They're being much more active. Yes, they are reaching out to real estate agents in that area when they see something being up for sale to let them know, to remind them that that is in a historic district if they don't see it listed on the listing.
Okay.
Well, I don't know that we can tell people not pulling permits, but you know.
Yeah, we can't do anything with that, but
Yeah, unfortunately, right? I mean, besides somebody getting a stop work order, but even then they're not gonna.
Not usually, and it's silly things like windows. No,
Oh,
they're
yeah,
supposed to match what's already there, and
I
then
know.
you just pull a permit for the windows, and they say you're gonna match. Yeah.
So they don't have to provide documentation at all for that.
Well, he goes out and tracks, he would have before you get the occupancy, but at that point, I don't know what, you know what I mean, like, how
Yeah,
big of a
what-
fight are you getting
Yeah,
into?
yeah. Definitely.
Well, there is a process involved, and there should be a notice of intent, and if there is a problem, there has been recently. You know, unfortunately, they've gone before the board, and the board has made their decision that, you know, you can't put you have to have a matching front door to the style of your house, because that's the way it is. But outside of that, I'm just saying, if we make changes, we have to keep all of the areas in the back of our mind too.
Right. I guess, is there something here under single family that you're concerned that we would be changing something here that would affect one of those districts?
Not off the top of my head, but I would, you know, like to hear some input from them in regards to some of these changes as well.
Okay, so if we get back to the single family piece, I think the only thing we've talked about so far is frontage. In terms of what we may want to change from what's on this draft today. Is there any other kind of items under the single family? In terms of lot size or anything else that we talked about?
Nope, I'm good with it.
I mean, I'd like us to consider the 100.
Yep.
As far as frontage,
I do think at some point, and we started to talk about this previously, is that we need to probably look at like alternate lot shapes, like we, talked about. We don't have any type of clause in for that right now. I don't know that will happen with this, but maybe it's something that we need to flag, like we talked about the
hammerheads and
things, yeah.
Yeah.
Which we don't currently have anything around right now.
There are some though in town, older lots that had one driveway and one,
Yeah,
that kind of thing. And there's a one probably that has 5 off of it, another one has 3 off of it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, if backland is usable and you don't have enough frontage, there should be a way to construct a home there.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that there is, if the Board of Health allows it and they can get a septic system, they can get their well, because this town's never. Not in my lifetime will I see public sewage here. I don't know if it will ever be, but, so there's just so much we're gonna be able to do anyway.
so do you guys think that we should add a hammerhead lots section under single family here before we propose this?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's plenty of other communities that have them.
Yes. Sure. Any other single family comments before we move on? Okay, so multifamily, in the beginning here, again, I put in the existing just at the top there, so in case anybody didn't have it, it's in the italics. And then I moved to the proposed after that. I ended up expanding this section quite a bit because I was just having a hard time feeling like every other section we had in our bylaw had some real kind of little bit more clarity to it, and this one was currently pretty straightforward, but maybe we wanted a little bit more to
Meaty.
go on based on what we had talked about last time. Yeah, it was a little tricky, right? So I ended up rewriting it quite a bit, so I'm sorry if this looks totally different than what you're expecting. I would say this is probably the one I struggled with the most in going through it, so definitely could use some comments here, but just the beginning here. What I ended up doing is the first thing I did, and I just want to point out because it's probably hard to see, is if you go back to the existing bylaw part, at the very top, there's a paragraph up there. And I believe it's the second line in that says there shall not be more than one apartment in multifamily structure per building lot. And I struck that off of the new one, if everyone's okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first piece to that one. So what I did from there was I tried to break this down into like location, dimension, site, and building, so you can kind of see that as you go through, just to try to get a little more structure here. So what I did here is I changed the first part, which was there was a little confusion between zoning districts. So what I said here was that multifamily development is allowed in all zoning districts, whereas previously we had only RA and RB listed
Okay.
on here.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the first part. And I wrote here minimum lot area is equal to the minimum allowed per zoning in that district. So it's a little, because previously what it said was minimum lot area was 8 acres.
Yeah, and that's just,
So for instance, let's say if somebody wants to build a multifamily on our new RA lot, which we are reducing that to 2 acres, that they could technically do that under this. On a 2 acre lot, they could propose a 2-family or something else, right?
Well, providing that it'll get past the Board of Health.
Correct.
yeah,
Correct. That's what I was trying to do, was to allow the opportunity for that without doubling the lot acreage, let's say, especially on the smaller multifamilies, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we need 200 feet for minimum frontage.
Okay,
Am I going past where,
no, you're good. I was just, yep, we were just on A, so we're on,
Okay.
yep, so you can, yep.
where do you have the minimum area? Minimum
It's
lot?
under A right there. What I said was minimum lot area is equal to the minimum lot allowed
Oh,
per the
in that
zoning
area.
district.
Okay,
In
fine.
that area,
Okay,
essentially.
you need to just say that. Okay, because I just, as a side note, I've been in town for 46 years. Plus. I do not believe there has been one newly constructed multifamily in that entire time. Not one, because our zoning is so restrictive. You couldn't possibly do it.
Mhm.
Now, I understand it was intentional, because they did a lot for snob zoning,
Mhm.
you know, back when, and now you're paying, everybody's paying for it.
But that's why we're trying to rewrite it, right?
Right, okay, so yes, I like that idea of.
Nice redirect, Courtney.
Sorry. Sorry.
Much better at it than me.
Keeping us on task though.
Well, I'd
Sorry,
like
so
to-
frontage, so
I'd
you'd like
like
to
to go
reduce the
with
frontage.
100.
Do you want to go down? Yeah, you want to go down to the 100 like the other one,
Yeah.
okay. So there are some minimum side yards and things in here, but I also have, I think that this one, I might have a little bit more. I'm gonna get mixed up between the two that I wrote, so, yeah, okay.
Front yard has been 50 for many years.
So I didn't change it on this one, and I don't feel like, I feel like if we were gonna loosen it, it would be on single family rather than multifamily personally, if we were gonna go below it, so I would rather keep it at least at our minimum that we have and that we've said here, except for B, obviously we reduced it under single family. But
There was a comment made last night about proximity to the street and a roof line. And I thought it made a lot of sense actually, but it makes me think that maybe that could be something, depending, it would be for new construction, obviously, but maybe somebody would come with a plan. And depending on the lot and how it would fit, and again, if the Board of Health gives them a septic system, I think that we should have some kind of flexibility to address that particular.
were they concerned that a roof line would be too high? What was
Yeah,
the,
in that one, it was, although there's something about, it might have been in the article last night, that it was 32 instead of 36 feet or something. And
It was, if you had, it was from the architect, and he did say that, you know, you can put a footage on it, but depending upon how close it is to the street or not, you're really looking, it's more of an aesthetic as opposed to something that's,
Yeah.
if we said 32 feet, he was saying that it's probably better to say like a story and a half or 2.5 stories,
Yeah, so I
depending
think
upon
I have
depending
this-
upon what our setbacks are.
Mhm. I do think I have a story thing down in here. I don't think I did height for this one in particular. I believe that I did maximum numbers of stories above grade was 3. So I
Yeah.
did it that way here. I didn't do it
Yeah.
for height.
Yeah, and that's good because that will allow for, depending upon where it's located on the parcel and that kind of stuff, then the planning board and the zoning would be able to figure that out.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so the minimum rear yard and side yard are a little bit higher in this case than the single family here, so I've doubled it. So where it's single family, it's 15. I've doubled things to 30 in this case for multifamily.
yeah, we agreed on that.
Yep,
We
yep,
agreed
I'm
on
just,
that.
yep, just running through. The next one on density, I think, was one of the harder ones I had looked at because I couldn't totally recall our conversation in particular on this topic. And so I went back and looked at the examples that we had for multifamily and what they did for density on here.
Mhm.
And it's a little tricky. So what I ended up doing here was I tried to divide it out in 2 different ways. One in particular was the RA, because I thought if it really is an overlay district, maybe it needs a bit more strict density requirements. That's something I think we need to research. So what I put on here will basically is not to exceed 1 unit per acre in an RA district. In an RB district, it's a half an acre per unit. And then for other districts, meaning those, more of the town center districts and other things, it's 5,000 square feet per acre. So you'd have increased density where we have already increased density in the districts.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep. That's sound reasoning.
Some reasoning, I think we need to double check on the numbers of them. Let's say if
Yep.
people feel comfortable with the numbers of them.
Yep. I agree.
Maximum lot coverage. This one here, I believe that we had 35% in the last one, and I increased this to 40, but we may want to think about whether or not that's correct in terms of lot coverage, although it seems pretty in line with some other places, unless you're in my only worry is if we do get into one of those downtown commercial districts, and then all of a sudden it's like your lot's tiny and then it's starting to restrict you. So I don't know if there's a sliding scale similar to the way we're talking about density in terms of lot coverage based on district.
Does
that make sense?
But isn't there some kind of, I'm thinking back to my planning board days. Depending upon how many people you have, or let's say bedrooms you have, isn't there supposed to be the parking? There's something to do with parking. So
There is. So we do have rules in here in our current zoning bylaw on how many parking spaces. So that's my worry about. I think this is fine for residential districts. I'm worried about our downtown ones where we say 40%. And then let's say they do get to 3 units, and then all of a sudden they need to provide 6 parking spaces along with the building, along with way to get in, along with some place to store trash, that all of a sudden you've taken up your 40% lot coverage on a small lot really quickly. And that's the only reason why I'm wondering if there's a sliding scale.
that we would have to look into that. That's definite, because if that indeed, there also is a stormwater management plan that's required if you do that as well. So I agree with you. There should be some kind of sliding scale in that.
Okay, so why don't I try to work on that one a little bit more and see if I can do that one similar to the density, just kind of try to break it out a little bit more.
Okay.
Well, that's the one I wanted to remark on, was the 1 apartment per acre.
Yeah, so can I go back to just the rationale in it, because we were just talking about it a little
Okay.
bit, so maybe I can,
Sorry.
because no, that's all right, I just might be able to help explain. So what I was trying to do was create a sliding scale of density based on our districts. So for instance, RA, which we think is the aquifer overlay, it has a little bit bigger. RB gets a little bit smaller, therefore you get more units per acre. And then it gets even tighter in the things that are downtown districts. So what I'm doing here is an RA, I'm saying 1 unit per acre. RB is 1 unit per half an acre. And in all other districts, it's 5,000 square feet per unit.
Oh,
So it's a
different
sliding scale
district.
of per districts. Yeah, and maybe I need to clarify this a little bit, make a table or something that makes it a little bit easier to read.
Yeah.
But that's the rationale behind it. So in a place where we have a downtown district, you get higher density opportunities, I
Right.
guess. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Like 4 units at
Could fit
whatever
on
Main
a,
Street there
on
on a
20,000
postage.
square feet.
Well, or 8,000 square feet.
So do you think we need to have a lower number here than what I have?
What's the, like, for instance, like a square foot on an hour is, where it's got 4 units of the lot.
Oh my God. Oh, my God.
Okay, so, but I mean, like that would be an example to kind of throw back.
I mean, yeah, I can get that information. I'm just, yeah.
Because we currently have so few that are
Right.
multifamily, but we do have a 3-family that's on under 10,000 square feet in West Townsend.
Mhm.
And we have that 4-family now that I think it was only 8,000 something
Mhm.
square feet on that one. So again, as long as the septic supports,
I agree. I'm just
property.
wondering if we need to have something in here in terms of what we think for density, because I mean, I can write that whatever, I can write in here whatever septic allows, but what I'm worried about is where we get into places that aren't as dense, being allowed to do the same things that
Mhm.
we, you know what I mean, as the density of downtown, right? Like that's kind of what I was trying to go with on this.
so.
But maybe we need to lower the denser locations, which we could do
mhm.
in here, right? Is we could lower that down.
Because most of Main Street has water.
Yeah,
Which
and
will
what we-
allow them.
Yeah, and we could say if town water is provided, then your density is X, right? So
Right.
we could
Probably
also
higher than-
do it that way.
Probably higher than if you had to have a well.
Exactly.
How would you do that?
I think
How
what
would,
we do
how,
is,
not how would you do that? How would you write the bylaw to
Yeah,
accommodate
I-
that?
yeah, no, I agree. So, and there may be. You see. So when we get down into the cluster, I might have written something similar to this that may apply to multifamily, but what we could do in this particular one is what I'm wondering is if we change it to a chart, like I said, that's maybe a little bit easier to read. And then we break it out, say district, right? And it has a if town water, if not,
Yeah,
and has
I like that.
two different tables.
Yep.
So, Jody, if you do happen to find the one for that Lori was just referencing, if you just shoot me a little message.
Yeah.
And I can try to come up with what it is with water, town water on it, and maybe revise this section a little bit.
Yep.
Or,
Mhm.
No, that'll clarify and that makes it easier when we get to town meeting.
okay, so I'll change this up a little bit and make it easier to read.
Is there something else?
Okay. You okay if we go to the next one, site design?
Yep.
Give you the gist of this one.
Mhm.
So what I was trying to do on this one, because we started to strike the line that not more than one multifamily could be on the site, was just give a little bit of parameters around what that could be. So here, what I talked about is principal buildings on a lot of a single ownership shall be no less than 50 feet apart from each other. So let's say we have 2 multifamilies, they can't be closer than 50 feet together if they're on the same lot.
Mhm.
And there should be visually separated by trees and plantings. And I'm just trying to say something around that we have something to respond to if a plan comes in, right?
Mhm,
That
mhm.
we're also not probably trying to put up a big village that has no trees, right?
Right.
It says, provided, so this is the one, I found this one, another one I like to put out. It said, provided however, the principal multifamily building consists of only 2 dwelling units. So if there's somebody comes in and puts up two almost single family units that are 2 different buildings, that they're allowed to have them closer together, basically, than 50 feet.
If
So we
they're,
can-
if they're single family.
If they're little single families that somebody decides to
Okay.
put up, that they can be
Alright.
closer together.
It's saying that, smaller single, saying that as
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah,
It reminds me, are we gonna add something for tiny homes?
wait till we get to cluster.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Jumping ahead again.
Jumping ahead, it's okay.
During my life.
I know. So the next piece I had on here was peak stormwater runoff from the site shall not be increased in a 10-year storm. So just trying to make sure that they're managing, obviously, stormwater runoff from a site if they're
Yep.
gonna put on a lot of dwellings. Oh, look at me, I did do something. Look at C. Okay. So here I'm saying if they're served on site, so this means on site by water and waste, that they will submit, obviously, they have to do this anyways, a septic design certified by an engineer. But also talking about the location of wells here, that they need to submit that. Now, I did find this particular piece from another town, and we need to verify this piece, but it says no septic system shall exceed 2,000 gallons per day for sewage. Now, that's one, I think we need a Board of Health thing if we feel like something like that. But it does say more than one septic system may serve the site in order to meet the requirements. So I think this piece kind of needs a little bit of vetting to it, but I was trying to address the condition that you said, Lori, where they have well and septic on the same site, which is a little bit different.
So that I'm sure the Neshoba boards of health can give us the verbiage on that because
Yeah.
there's certain distance for the well and certain,
Yeah.
all of that. So
And would that even be in our bylaw? Because in order for, we don't control that, but if they get their design, which has to be by an engineer, and they get approved by the Board of Health, the way it works now, not used to be, but the way it works now is they have to drill their well and have the results of that
Yeah,
well
they have to-
before they get the permit. I'm
So
not sure about the two, that's why I don't know if we should be
I agree.
putting in the gallonage.
So we could pull out the gallonage and all of that stuff. What I do like about this, and we can take away all the other stuff, and they're gonna have to do the septic anyways. What I do like is that it gives the opportunity, like, that it has to be submitted to planning board, let's say, under the special permit anyways, as part of the documentation, so that like we know that they've gone and done it. Even though the Board of Health, they have to do it anyways. It just puts it up front right away.
And you can find out from Beth if it's already in the application.
well, we also have to think that this is future planning too. So we really should probably make it a little more generic instead of saying so many gallons. We should probably say per the current specifications of the regional boards of health.
We can do that.
Which that verbiage lives on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's that? I'll be right in the car for.
Oh, he's got, but is this just the one parcel or?
That's one of the 3 units on it.
3? Cause he's got 4.
No, we have this 3.
Oh, so that'll be changed.
It would.
But this isn't a half acre. This is more like 0.055. Is that a half acre?
Is the square footage of the lot? Yeah, that's not quite a half acre. But I can do the math, but I don't think my.
Well, I mean, do they have? You can go ahead.
Okay.
I'm not holding up your meeting.
No, I didn't.
Just an off conversation.
So D, so this one, I found this one and I added this in. And we may want to say something around the aquifer overlay district in this one in particular. But it just talks about, the groundwater quality a little bit. And this may be more specific, like I said, to an overlay district, or like you said, if we're trying to make it more generic, we could strike this next piece here as well.
Don't they have to have that done anyway? If they don't have water there? If they don't have town water there? That was a question.
So this one, it has to do with the on-site waste disposal though. Specifically, and groundwater quality.
Is this in the bylaws now?
Yeah,
no.
that's what I'm saying. It's not in our,
Is it, and I missed it? It could
Um,
be, I tried to read everything, but I might have missed it.
I don't think it's in our current bylaw.
And I'm thinking that. I think I'm thinking like Chaz said, it doesn't, we don't need to have that in there. Because those things are part of the application, like things that they have to
Prepare. Yep.
prepare
yep.
and have when they submit to the planning board.
Yep.
So it's more of like on the rules and regulations
Mhm.
of the town versus the bylaws.
Yep. Okay, so we can strike D.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's part of the application process and not part of the bylaw.
Okay, so number 3, I did building design. So here I have no structural shall contain more than 8 dwelling units. And no building entrance shall serve more than 4 dwelling units. So just trying to create it so it's not a big giant block. Let's say. Should you make the building a little bit smaller scale in terms of that? I don't know what we had before. Oh, so previously we had, in the old one, it had no more than 6 units. Just so you guys know. So I upped it a bit to 8.
But just thinking,
Mhm.
if we had an opportunity, like if the town again had an opportunity to have an apartment complex.
Mhm.
We only have Country Estates and we have Pine Ridge. But the thing is, like both of those, they would still be on septic.
Mhm.
They currently both have town water.
Mhm.
Would there be another place where a building could be built and it would be, say a 30-unit building?
Mhm.
Okay, like the size of either one of the buildings at either Pine Ridge or Country Estates, but just just one building.
Mhm.
Do we have an opportunity for that to happen? I mean, there's certainly a need for the apartments.
Mhm.
And would somebody build that today? I don't know. You know, and here and what it would cost and all that, but
Mhm.
would we be able to accommodate that?
Well, I mean, I think like.
Would our bylaw accommodate that?
Not right now,
Okay, so
but do we want that? I guess is the question.
why would we not want that?
I'm just putting it out there, like, I guess I want to make sure that whatever, that we can pass proposed changes to. I'm concerned that if there's that people think whatever we're passing will allow, that again, will they get nervous about not letting us change anything at all and not allowing the bylaw to change? I know that's a loaded
I'm not-
question. I know. I'm just asking. I'm just trying to.
I understand where
Yeah.
you're coming from,
Yeah,
and
I'm not saying I'm not for it. I'm just trying.
I know,
Also,
I'm trying to
move
not
the
be
train
afraid
forward and not go back at all.
of all these people that want the town to stay the same
I-
and they don't want their taxes to go up.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
Doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So if we don't make the allowance for it, it becomes like 46 years of no multifamilies because you have to have 8 acres. I'm saying, if somewhere down the road, maybe somebody gets a parcel on 13,
Mhm.
or, either way, on
Mhm.
13. And they're still probably either gonna have to have maybe a sewage treatment plant, or who knows what kind of well to service that, okay? But if they were able to do that, why wouldn't you allow some more housing?
Mhm.
We have a decrease of 1,000 people. We have a decrease in our schools.
I'm not arguing against it. I'm just trying to make sure that we're ready for the, I worry that if the density comes up in that same way, that it's gonna get a certain reaction. I'm not saying it's not right or wrong, I guess. Or do we have to think of this as a similar sliding scale that we've talked about on the other ones? I don't know.
I like that idea of
Mhm.
making this a sliding scale.
It gives us a different opportunity in different districts, and I think that's the hardest part, is making this a one size fits all thing. It
Right.
doesn't
Correct.
work.
Correct.
Agreed.
But also remember, Courtney, that this is the first time that somebody's actually taking the leap to make these changes.
Oh, no, I know. I'm just trying to bring the questions to the table, right?
Yeah, and we're thankful of that, but I don't see, if we can't make an impact, I don't see a need for the exercise.
I agree. I
Oh,
agree.
and we've been doing it and doing it and doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm not going to continually go on a diet if I'm not losing weight.
right, although I do try.
Okay, so what would you propose then for this? Or would you propose we would strike this particular one altogether and leave it up to whatever proposals come to us? We don't put in anything here about the amount of units in a structure. We leave it more open.
I actually would like that, because it still comes down to what will the lot, particular lot that you're talking about, or district or whatever, it still comes down to what are the options?
Mhm.
And the options they won't find until they do the soil testing and the testing for the septic.
Mhm.
And then they work their design from there.
Yep.
And hopefully it then becomes something that somebody wants to pay for and actually develop versus being restrictive.
So we strike A from this one.
Yep.
So everybody go with that?
Where are you? So I'm on the right A.
We're on building design A.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so B, what I have here is not more than 10% of the dwelling units in a multifamily development should have more than 2 bedrooms.
Not more than 10% should have more than 2 bedrooms. Meaning the rest being primarily one
One to 2, it's
bedrooms
1 to
or
2, it's
studio?
1 and 2 bedrooms, right? So more than 2 is 3, right?
Oh,
So,
I see.
um,
I'm sure I understand.
So 10% can have 3 bedrooms of a unit. I don't
Yeah.
have a problem with that.
trying to keep things,
Yeah,
just thinking about affordability of units, trying not to get somebody that comes in and builds a bajillion 4-bedroom units that we don't really need, right?
I don't think that's gonna happen.
I don't think so
mean, it's a
either,
good,
but-
it's,
but
I
that's
don't
the
think it's
idea.
gonna happen anyway, but
Yeah.
it's, I guess it's a good way.
I can raise the
To put it.
percentage too, if you feel like it's a good thing, but maybe 10% is too restrictive, let's say.
No, because that's. the
Well, it's
septic.
all size
Yeah.
relative too, right?
Yeah.
So if you had a 50 unit, then it would be different than if you had 4 units.
Of course.
No, I think that's fine.
C is no floor except unoccupied basement shall be below grade at its entire perimeter. As in, I don't want units that are underground
Oh, no,
with
right.
windows that are egress only through wells, let's say.
Yep.
Which would,
We got pushback on that before, but I agreed with that 100%.
No, it should, right. You should have an escapable window. Kind of like, well, both.
well, you have to have that anyways for the building code. What I'm worried about is I just don't want, in reality, we end up with like a lot of underground units that just have a well access to get out.
I don't think that's.
I've been on some pretty bad places.
I have too. I have too.
This is the only reason why I'm here on this one, but
Certainly not around here.
That's what we're trying to
Okay.
find, too.
Um. I mean, the only thing I even know is the apartment buildings are like the split level, first level, or like a split level home.
yeah, but that one's not at its entire perimeter
No,
underground, so that's pretty good.
I'm good with,
Okay,
I'm good with that staying that for proposed new.
okay. And then D is maximum number of stories is 3 above grade. So I did do a height, again, I just did a number that we had talked about last time was 3.
Yep. And I think
All right.
that's exactly where we need to be.
Okay, so number 4 is circulation and parking. So under A, no parking area shall contain more than 12 parking spaces. And all parking areas should be connected to structures by walkways. I mean, that's pretty standard, but
I just want to say about the number.
Yep.
Why can't that also be relative to the project?
well, it would be that just saying like if they had to have 24 spaces, it would be divided into 2 lots instead of 1. Just trying to avoid a giant parking lot of space. You know, of just pavement everywhere. We don't have to.
Okay.
I just,
I'm,
that's the.
I'm not struggling with the concept
Mhm.
of not having all the pavement and no
Yeah.
grass and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I'm not struggling with that, but
Yeah.
I think that's something in the design process, that it's a new project coming before planning and generally the landscaping and whatever is discussed of how they're gonna do it. Okay,
Right, but if they don't have something to fall back on. They don't really have to take into account what we asked them to do with the parking lot, right? As long as they get their count.
They can always
Well,
ask for a waiver too, Laurie.
for more,
If they happen to have 14 spaces total, and they said, listen, can we make this parking lot of 14 spaces instead of 12, you know, the bylaw says that might be a condition where we would grant that, right?
Yeah.
it's like where, net, and how are you gonna, I mean, I'm good with all parking areas shall be connected to the structures by walkways. Okay, perfect. Where do you in that 12 address the handicap parking?
Well, they have to do that.
Who they?
They, the designer,
Oh,
they have to.
Who they?
and then, so if they need 2 handicap spots, are you gonna take that away from the 12? Are you
No, it's in
gonna-
the 12.
It's in the 12.
Yeah, it's a parking space. Even if the handicap still parking space,
Okay.
right?
Well, you have to look at, Lori, what we're
More.
we're trying to do. I mean,
We can do
Wait.
more. Yeah,
we're not looking at 150 unit development here. We're looking at multifamily. So it's not
We-
like
yeah,
Well,
we can.
spaces
say-
is a lot of space.
Wait a minute. So multifamily and the 3-family being the largest, is that it? 2 per space, 2 per unit?
Well, it could be bigger than that.
It could be a
We're
little
not
bigger than
approving
that.
it. Yeah, we're not precluding it to be three-family.
Well,
So-
you need, when you have any type of multifamily, you have to have. I mean, and generally 1 to 2 spaces per unit, guest parking
Mhm,
and handicap.
mhm.
That's what I look at. We think 12's enough for 3
So,
family.
I
right?
Under building
know.
design number 3, A, did we strike that?
I, I don't know if we have yet.
Building
um,
design.
So what I'm saying is
Sorry,
eight,
no, sorry, yes, we
Eight-
did strike A.
Yeah.
okay,
Under
if,
building
so
design.
we did strike A, but if we had 8 dwelling units,
You would get your 12 spaces theoretically.
yeah, but I mean, actually 2 per unit, 2 parking spaces for 2 per
Fine.
unit goes over.
Yeah,
I mean, we can strike this one too. We can just say all parking areas shall be connected by walkways. You know, we can keep the second part if we like it and take the first part away if we don't like it.
or that. No, I like the second sentence,
Mm-hmm.
or we, leave the parking spaces are to be determined by the number of units.
Yeah, so B, let's look at B.
Oh.
So all parking areas shall conform to the design requirements set forth in bylaw XX, and I've referenced our parking bylaw here, which tells them how many units,
Okay,
how many parking spaces
Okay.
they need per unit.
okay. So then we don't need the number.
Well, but the number saying if a parking area, let's say we have enough space, enough places that, like I said, they need 24 parking spaces. We're saying you have to have 12 here and some separation in 12 here. That's what it's saying. It doesn't,
Oh,
it's saying per parking area
Right, so 12 in the
Yeah.
front and 12 on the
on
side.
the back, yeah, whatever it might
Yeah.
be.
so in Townsend. And correct me if I'm wrong, in the multifamily description, the parking has to be in the back of the building.
That's what it says in here today.
I don't know if it's yours or not. I'm saying that in the town bylaw,
Under multifamily.
under multifamily.
I don't think it does, at least not in the multifamily, it may say it in the parking section of which I can check, but. It definitely doesn't say it in the multifamily zoning today.
No.
I don't think it
it's-
says that it has to be in the back, Lori. I think it is in the parking section that there has to
just
be
check
adequate
that.
amount of parking. I don't know if it says it in the back, but most of them do, because it
Right.
depends on where it's built. If it's a downtown district, they would only have to have it in the back.
Yes. In a downtown district.
Yeah.
So I guess our current bylaw does not address someone who wants to.
Put parking in the front.
No, no, yeah. Well, there's a situation where somebody wanted to do that and they were going to have the parking in the front because the septic was on the side and town water, septic on the side and rock.
Okay, so
In
what
the
it
back.
does say in our parking thing is it says. No part of any private parking area having 5 or more parking spaces will be located within a required front yard setback. That's what it does say here. At least that's the first one I found. And the next one says parking lots containing 10 or more spaces shall have at least 2 trees per 8 parking spaces. So it has some tree stuff in here.
Yeah.
But I don't see anything specific to it has to be in the back. It just says it can't be in the front yard setback. If it has 5 or more spaces.
Right.
But that doesn't seem specific to multifamily. It seems more of a general.
The general parking.
It does, yeah.
I don't
Okay.
see I don't see an issue with it. I don't think it's being restrictive. I think it's just being more conscientious of the look.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. So does everybody feel okay about A so far?
Mhm.
After all that? B feels okay. The only other thing in here in B that I think is a little interesting, we may want to strike, is buffer areas shall be retained in their natural vegetative state to the maximum extent feasible. They're just saying areas that buffer between things will stay in their natural state.
Yeah, I would leave it. I would keep it general. I agree.
Take it out, yeah, I was thinking that too, okay. The next one I have is just saying interior roads and utilities shall provide service functionality to all equipment. And I referenced the planning board subdivision control under this, so referencing them back to that particular piece on roads. Okay. Number 5 for exterior lighting. I have outdoor lighting fixtures shall be cut off type, oriented and shielded to avoid glare to adjoining properties.
Yes, and there is the exterior lighting bylaws have just been reviewed by the Energy Committee.
Okay.
So I would take a peek at those because a lot of them are not grandfathered anymore. But these are good.
Do we, is a copy of that available somewhere? Do I need to request that from someone? If they've just been reviewed, that they're not,
I would see if Sabrina has them.
we may here just reference back to them if they're pretty good. We may
Yep.
just say, see this if we.
That's
But we
what
can-
I'm thinking because they're very specific on what it is, and I think that we should refer to that particular section.
So I think B, we could move maybe over to number 4, up to circulation and parking. It says planting or other screening will be used to block headlight glare from drivers. Drives and parking lots onto adjoining premises. So if you're like driving along and you park your car, you're not shining into the adjacent person's property. That's basically what that's saying.
Yep.
So I'm gonna move that up. Right? And C is no buildings shall be floodlit, but I think again, if we are happy with the lighting bylaws, then we'll just reference those.
Yeah, because they're specific about that as well.
Okay, so number 6, I added this one in to see what you guys thought about this. I think we sort of talked about it. The affordability guarantee. So I added A is a minimum of 10% must be designated as affordable. And then under the next piece, I said all units sold as affordable shall contain a deed restriction guaranteeing that the unit shall remain affordable in perpetuity from its first occupancy or as defined by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts with affordable housing. So trying to keep the ones that we get have a clause in there for perpetuity. Does that feel okay?
Yes, to me it does.
Yes.
Are you allowed, Chaz, are we allowed to do that because of the way the state has it with the requirement for the 15-year restriction? And then after the 15 years, they don't have to be. So are we allowed to overstep that, exceed what the state allows? Like we do with Title V, they allow the local boards of health to, sorry. They allow the local boards of health to exceed the state requirements.
Well, I'll check into that. But if they're going to put a deed restriction on it, the owners, I don't see why not.
Okay.
That particular unit is deemed affordable in perpetuity. That only means that if they can't, let's say somebody moves out and they can't sell the unit, that always has to be affordable.
I was kind of trying to prevent that whole thing where we have some that are coming off that list that we were, that
Yeah,
thing
I
that we've
know,
been talking about.
that's what I'm saying.
Well, there's other options available, and we'll get into this more in a later meeting, but that's really what the housing trust is supposed to be helping us with. That if a unit is up for sale and they can't find a buyer, then the housing trust should purchase that so that we could keep it in the inventory, number one, but keep it in
And we become
perpetuity.
the landlord. The
And
town
we
becomes-
become the landlord until we can sell it.
Okay, do you guys feel okay about number 6 generally right now, the affordability?
I'm
Yes.
okay with it, but I'll check I'll check on the
Thank you. That'd be great. Okay, so the last part here is, I did a little section on procedure for approval. Obviously, they have to put in for a special permit, so it talks about that. And then it references back under A, meeting the requirements for the definitive plan under the planning board sub-control division, referencing back to their original stuff.
Mhm.
They have to have B, the proposed deed restriction. And C is a concept plan consisting of the following. And so this is where we were starting to talk a little bit about if we wanted to be able to see what this might look like or not. So this is a schematic development plan indicating the general manner and location of the buildings, roads, drives, reserved parking areas. This is a lot of what they're gonna have to do anyways for a site plan review if they have to go through that.
Mhm.
So very similar requirements. B, floor plans and architectural elevations of typical dwellings. So just saying that we're looking for generally to see what these look like. And C, materials indicating the proposed gross square foot of habitable area, the number of units generally, what distinguishes them, such as number of bedrooms or special occupancy, a form of tenure, and the methods of water supply and sewage disposal, and a timeline for construction. So a little bit of more detail around what they're proposing, which I think they would have to provide. They'd have to at least provide likely the number of units anyways, but this
Yep.
is trying to get a little bit more specific about what's included
Right.
in the proposal.
Yeah, and not a napkin drawing.
Not a, yeah, that's what I'm trying to hopefully get to. So we could say floor plans and architectural elevations to scale. We may want to add that in there if we are looking for more than a napkin drawing.
There's a term for that, Courtney, and I can't think of it. A legal term. That basically says that it's like, it doesn't need a professional, but it needs something accuracy. I can't remember.
I will ask around on that one and see if my friends know the answer.
I want to say relative accuracy or something like that.
I have heard that. Yeah, I have heard that term. Oh, let me find out about that one. Okay, any other comments on multifamily? I know it's a lot to go through. Pretty feel.
Nope, I like it.
Okay.
Okay. So clusters next. Are you guys
Excited.
feeling ready for the next one after all this? Okay. Okay, so cluster, I started here with the definition since we obviously don't have one yet, in particular, that would have to be added to definitions. And interestingly, I reference here cottage dwellings, but we actually also have this in our definitions, but I just wanted to include it here because sometimes I reference it for you guys. But it's actually already in our definitions, which is great. So for here, cluster development, you guys can read that. It's a division of land into lots used for residential building sites where they're arranged in one or more groups having yard measurements equal to what's listed in the land space requirements. And then the cottage dwelling, we also already have this, which I think is really nice. It's a detached one-family dwelling that does not exceed 1,800 square feet of livable floor area. So those are the two that I just wanted to put out there.
So is this where the tiny houses are supposed to be?
Yes.
So, cause, okay, not to exceed.
Do you want to keep going a little bit? Because it might
Yeah.
get clearer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cause my house would fit in the tiny.
Mine is just
Cottage.
like just above this, like, and yeah, I know.
The tiny
Okay.
house, the tiny houses.
Okay, so standards here, it just talks a little bit about what we're trying to meet, in the basic, character of this. So I don't wanna read it to you guys. You guys can maybe take a look through that piece and let me know if you have any thoughts.
Well, I thought that describes it perfectly, Courtney. I don't have, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay.
We're looking for, the standards are basically that, it's allowed, but you have to follow certain procedures. So I think that's captured perfectly in that.
So B under this, so this is where we start to get into a little more specifics here. So B is it's a single tract of land, it's in one ownership. It had, here I did at least 5 acres in size in an RA or RB district. So a lot of the ones that we looked at were 10 acres, and I think some of our other stuff, like our, the age restricted, and what was the other one? There's two that we had in there that were both 10 acre. I'm gonna get the other one wrong. Unless you guys are changing the 10 acres and the age restricted from last night. But I think that's what it is today.
Oh, I mean, the age restricted that we did last night was, 2 acre and 100 feet of frontage, or
Oh,
1
interesting.
acre even. I don't have that.
That's
with
okay.
me, but
So I think the other one is. Um. It was either the open space multifamily development or it was the open space preservation development. One of those other ones is a 10 acre as well.
I think it's the open space preservation.
Preservation, okay. So this one's going down to, is allowing for 5 acres. So we can maybe talk through the rest and see if that makes sense, or if you want to make it something else.
So it's a cluster development, at least 5 acres with a single tract of land, one owner. In an RA or an RB district. I don't see a problem with that.
It says here that it's going to be done by special permit
Mhm.
under this.
this is
And
the, this is the current law. This was not part of the change in the article. That's the warrant for the age restricted.
I thought it was that one that had. Oh, it is 2, or I might have been thinking of another one. It is 2 here. You're right. Okay, so under here, the rules, under the rules here for documentation, it's all lots. I have done obviously we don't have an article or a number here for zoning. For the bylaw, so it's saying that it has to be recorded, that it can't be divided later, basically, additionally later.
Yes.
B under lot frontage. So this is the lots of there's a couple of places, this is the individual lots in the cluster. So the minimum frontage of any lot shall not be less than 50 feet, except for lots that are an existing street shall not be less than 115, which seems like we should lower that now that we talked about the 100-foot frontage on the other ones, right? so we can modify that.
To 100.
Yeah. Yeah. And the average lots having frontage on only, so it's like on only an existing street shall not be less than 135. So it sounds like I can probably edit both those. So there's one that's like got frontage on both streets and one that's got it on just one, but it seems like we can probably just strike that second one.
Yep.
And then there's a second piece that just says minimum frontage shall not be allowed where it's likely to result in hazardous concentration of egress points, which I think is just in planning, they need to, when they're laying this thing out, not planning board, just in the planning of this development, they need to look at that.
So you wanna hear something interesting? And a 4-family, well, 3-family, that's gonna be a 4-family on Main Street. The lot size is 2378.
2378. So they
0.05.
have just over 1,000 square feet per unit.
They-
Of lot size per unit. I mean.
Okay. The building total area is 43,111. The first floor living, this is if our records are correct. The first floor living is well, in the public record that I pull up, it's 2394, which is actually larger than the footprint of the lot.
So,
and I
the
do
first floor is
remember-
bigger?
I do remember that the comment was made that the building covers the entire lot.
How do they have a septic?
It's on the other lot.
Oh, well, we can't use that as a precedent then.
Well, it's not a precedent, but it exists.
I agree. I just mean for a new bylaw, I feel like we can't.
Oh, no, you can't.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you can't. But what I'm saying is that's what exists.
Yeah,
And they have, I don't know what is on the lot next door because he owns both parcels.
so
So
we
he
kind of have
has
to look at them together.
one,
Yeah.
right, exactly, one septic system for 7 units. One
7
building
units.
has 3, this one will have 4.
Okay,
4 1-bedrooms.
Yeah.
I don't know what's in the other one.
so if we knew what the other lot was, then we could combine the 2 lot sizes and get an average per 7 units. Technically.
Yeah, no land. So again, it boils down to if you get approved design, if you get an approved design, and then you can follow all the new regulations about trees and pavement and parking and everything else, you won't get it on, obviously, 4,000 square feet or 2,000. Well, you might get it on 4 or 5, but not
So-
on 2.
If we are talking about, let's say a sliding scale, the way we were in the multifamily, would you then do the RA, the RB and all others? Density is per approved septic. Or per Board of Health approval of septic design and
Yep.
leave it that way?
I would make it simple.
And
Because-
keep the RA and the RB density is a little bit bigger.
Yep.
Because it's really not anything in our control. It's Board of Health control. Once they have that, wow, okay, now we look at what we can do.
I agree with you. I'm just trying to see if we wanted control. I guess that's the question, right? I know you're saying don't. I'm just, yeah.
I
no
mean, on the
fault,
one
no fault.
hand, I just got out of a meeting earlier that said, oh, we can't, we really should do this side by side because our whole point is not to have this take so long. Because if it's not within the 180 days, you're looking at 6 or 7 months and then going through to another board for 6 or 7 months. And yeah, that's the way it's been. That's the way it's been. So the object is not to make this so difficult that you repeat the last 45, 46 years.
Oh my goodness. Some of the things that we went through in the planning board, Lori, was like, it seemed like forever. This again? Why are we voting on this again?
You know, so it's really sad because it is not caused by the board members. I can tell you that. Nobody wants to hear this over and over again and know that your constituents are paying money and losing time and money.
Yeah.
You know, going through the process. So I'm not saying to make it, nobody's looking for willy-nilly, but we're losing residents, you know, and the taxes are going up and it just doesn't make, we're just trying to do our fiduciary too, to our positions.
Yep.
You know, and for the town. It's not physically sound.
So lot setbacks, is that what we're on?
Yes, see, lots of effects. So what I have here is, and this is where I tried to get a little bit different for people that are trying to do smaller houses. So I guess hear out my logic a little bit on this one.
Are we on standards?
We are on the residential cluster standards under B and then number C. So I know there's a lot
Okay.
of numbers there. So lot setbacks. So this one here, I have the present setbacks for front, side, and rear yards as stated in the land requirements table that we just modified, right, in the first one.
Yeah.
Shall remain as stated. And then I have the present setbacks, same thing. Shall be reduced by half for the subdivision containing cottage dwellings. So what I'm trying to say is if you are going to build something that's smaller, like a cottage dwelling, you can get smaller setback amounts. Because what I'm trying to promote is not that we have made really small lots and all of a sudden we get a giant house on it. That's not what we're looking to do, right?
Right, correct.
I'm trying to give them a bonus, let's say, if they do smaller houses, that they get reduced yard setbacks, essentially. That makes sense, and that kind of carries through to the next one, so D. And I'm just gonna strike one thing that I saw, because okay, so D, individual lot area in this cluster development shall be less than no less than 10,000 square feet or 7,500 square feet for cottage dwelling. So again, I'm giving them additional density if they agree to build smaller houses.
Or if they choose to build smaller, they can have a better density.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I'm okay with that.
And so these kind of all tie together. So E, the next one, which is lot coverage. Basically maximum lot coverage is limited to 20% or 25% for cottage dwellings. And I just accounted for that just in terms of if you have a smaller lot, you're likely to have, you know, just in terms of the percentage. So for instance, at 7,500 at a 20% coverage, you get 1,500 coverage for that. So if you have, that's not right. I did this earlier. Hold on.
So if you have, are we looking at
1875.
the 10,000 square foot lot?
So it depends. So
Well, let's look at the 7,500 square foot.
let's say, so the 7,500 square foot lot with a cottage dwelling on it gets a higher lot coverage just because the lot is
25%.
smaller, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
25%.
And the 10,000 square foot lot has a little bit less lot coverage at 20% because it's a bigger lot. And we're, again, trying to make sure that we don't end up with really huge houses on really tiny lots. Does that
Correct.
make sense?
Yeah, but okay, so we have the individual lots for these individual tiny houses,
Yep.
and their setbacks are off the 10,000 square feet. Or
And their
no.
setbacks are on, the 10,000 square foot lot has the original setbacks that are in our table.
Yep.
And they get a little bit reduced lot coverage also. The smaller houses have a smaller lot, less setback, so their setbacks are smaller requirement. and their lot coverage is higher, just because it's a smaller lot.
So
Yep.
just trying to figure out if they were doing a, say, a 24 by 42 ranch, okay, because
What'd you say?
tiny house,
24?
24 by 40 by 24.
Which is 9,600, or nine, sorry, 9,006.
960.
Yeah, it's been a really long day for me.
Okay, it's
Sorry.
960. So 40 feet. Trying to think, we have, if it's 7,500, so you probably got 75 by 100.
Yeah, you could do
Or
that. Yeah, it could
100
be-
by 75,
Yeah,
one or
yeah,
the
whatever,
other,
it
right?
is, right?
Okay, so 40, let's say from, let's say from the 100, 40 from 100. Leaves 60, leaves 30 on either side. I'm looking to see, is our senior citizen who wants the tiny 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath
Mhm.
house and still have a living room and
Mhm.
kitchen
Mhm.
and maybe a laundry room on the first floor because they don't want to go in the basement and a garage.
Yeah.
That would be the perfect retirement home or starter home.
So the thing about this is that right now the cottage says 1,800 square feet of heated floor area. So,
Yeah, that's large.
which
really.
is, yeah, which excludes the garage. So, I mean, they could definitely fit that. But if we think that's too big, we may need either a different definitions that's not a cottage, it's something else, it's a tiny, I don't know. Because this definition's already referenced in another bylaw. So we may need a secondary one if we're looking for even smaller than that.
I mean, I would like to, because it's becoming prevalent in other parts of the country.
Mhm.
And people are looking for it as an alternative to a mobile home,
Mhm.
you know. That we, I don't know if it'll ever happen here, but that we allow for it to happen.
I think we
Tiny
are though
homes.
in this, because we're saying the maximums, like square footage is 18, so they could build 1,000 if they only want to build
If they
1,000.
wanted it to. And I think that,
So,
you know, thinking on the municipal level too, that I would, if somebody was planning on doing this, we the town would be getting taxes for more units in that respect if they were smaller and the density was higher. Not
Mhm.
more, not astronomically more, but what I'm saying is that it would be equivalent to somebody plopping a big house onto a, you know, the same size lot.
do you think we need to be more restrictive in the size,
No,
or do you think it's okay?
no, I think this is okay with
No,
what
it's
we
probably
have.
okay, because, you know, when you're talking big houses today, it's the 3,000 to 4,000.
Yeah, and I'm
Square
trying to
foot.
prevent that from happening though
25.
too, you know, so like a 10,000 square foot at a maximum lot coverage of 20%, they can only cover 2,000 square feet.
Correct.
Which means they can't put on a giant house anyways, like even on the bigger,
No, and they wouldn't get a garage either. Well,
Well-
they may be, or a bonus room, but that's it.
right? So what I don't want is what you don't want, right, is the huge house to come in on the tiny lot, so that's why, part of why there's two different sizes and a little bit of a scale here, even restricted in the little bit larger size lot.
Yeah, in that respect, because you know, if we are needing to look at what it would be, you know, really first home buyers and elderly in that type of situation. And those are the two populace that we're trying to keep.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Okay,
Mhm.
do you guys feel good about C, D, E?
Yes, yes, yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so F, so I guess this is the little bit of height one where we sort of started to talk about this earlier, but I did have a maximum building height of 30 feet. That's thinking if you end up with a 2-story house and they're, I mean, that's
Small lots.
small lots, yeah, I'm trying not to get really tall. I mean, you could still accommodate you know, probably a 9-foot ceiling, even a 9 on top, and not do a super steep pitch. You could probably still accommodate that with 30 feet. It's just gonna be a little tight. but I'm trying not to make something that,
Hey,
where they end up with like 3 stories tall or something on a teeny
Well, and do a
ladder.
flat roof instead of a gable so that they
They
can get
could,
space.
they could do that. So we could do either maximum 2 stories above grade. We could say that instead, if you guys prefer that over the height, and go back to the stories instead of height.
Well, in lieu of the conversation that was yesterday, I mean, Mr. Therian did have some very good points in regards to the height. You know, putting a
Yeah.
foot on there, I mean, it's just like we were talking before. If your setback is when you do the plans that have the gutters in it, and the gutter goes over the setback, you just put in the plan with no gutters and then put them up afterwards. People are gonna
True.
do that.
Do that.
Well,
go-
that's what happens, Lori.
Yeah, I know, I just I don't.
So you guys want to go to stories above grade instead of height?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Two stories above grade and just Nick's F.
Or not next F, I'm gonna change F 2 stories. Oh, I did 2 of them. Look at me. Never mind. We'll take F out.
Yeah, take F out.
They said it's been a long day.
Keep
I'm
G.
getting a little. Okay. Done.
Take G and change it to F.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, this next one here, H, so I say here, the development shall be served by public water if available within 500 feet of the development, saying that they need to make the effort to connect if it's possible. If it's within a certain distance. Does that feel like something we shouldn't ask for?
Do we need to?
No. It kind of seems nice, but at the same time it doesn't. It's one of those ones that I feel like is a little bit of a,
I see that more of a
I don't-
design issue though, right?
I'm just trying to think. Probably
If I was a
somebody-
developer, I'd want to be able to have town water come in as opposed
rather
to,
do the town water
yeah,
if I was developing something
yeah,
rather than having
A
to
well.
drill the well.
right, especially in a pocket neighborhood or a cottage development. I would rather have that served by town water. So I wouldn't have to worry about drilling for all of those.
I mean, it's something for them to think about.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, but if it's 600 feet, or, you know, if it's just, I guess,
we can strike it and leave it up to them.
I think if we're putting in an arbitrary number, because we don't know, it's an unknown.
Yeah,
I think in most, unless it was something in the downtown
Mhm.
or right off the center of town.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna be a non-issue.
Okay.
So the
Yes.
development shall be served by public water if available.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they may not, you know, they may not have a choice.
Right.
They may just have to do it, you know,
Yeah.
wells.
Okay, so no less than 50% of the land, is basically set aside, as open space.
Why?
So a lot of these have that, so like if you, that's why they're trying to condense them into a community, right? Is so that you're a cluster. Is
Oh, the cluster, we're
clustered.
in the cluster, okay.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
cluster's it's close together, right, by preserving some of it. Does that feel okay? So theoretically, let's say we have the 5-acre lot. Right, I mean, we can get it and half of it is buildable, so 2.5 acres of it is buildable. I'm just gonna use the 40,000 because it's faster
Now,
math.
when we say open space, because I'm just getting a little,
Mhm.
whatever, on the open space control. When we say that, does it fall under the definition of the town's open space rules? And is there like an open space police? You know what I'm saying? I'm afraid of the
There-
term.
There probably is some unofficial open space police here in town, I'm sure.
So, but what I'm saying,
Yeah,
what I'm saying is, Yeah, to get approved.
would we say it this way, no less than 50% of the parcels is undeveloped?
Well, let's look at how we came about this whole idea in the beginning. We looked at a couple of areas. Some of them were down in the Cape, if I remember correctly, and one of them, it pops right into my head, that used to be a drive-in theater. And they positioned the pocket neighborhood towards where the old screen was, but that was like a preserve or owned by Fish and Game, or I forget what it was. So the way in which that parcel of land was, there was open space, but it wasn't part of their thing. So it's am I explaining myself right? So when I hear of open space in a cluster or a pocket neighborhood, all I can think of is a park for the kids or a playground for the kids or some kind of recreational open space that people can walk around and do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, and I agree with that. As long as that's what our concept is. For that little cluster, for that little neighborhood,
Yeah.
to be able to use that, but it's not public open space.
Right, right.
It's there for those people, and it won't be constructed upon.
Right. So to answer your question, Lori, no, it's not open, like town owned, or it's not
Right.
open to the public. It would be just like if somebody had a clubhouse on one of their things. They have a clubhouse, you would consider that a recreational, but it's not the whole town can go in it.
Right, okay. Okay,
So I think it gets into J and K a little bit too here, and was in quite a few of these, so we may want to take them out based on what we just talked about. But it says like such common land, so talking about this open area,
Mhm.
shall be conveyed to the town. So it sounds like we want to maybe not do something like that.
that's
I
exactly
agree.
where I would.
Yeah.
That's where I'm, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because the town really can't support that, let's be honest. You know, for conservation restrictions and all of that kind of stuff, you have to have somebody that's in control of it. Conservation can't do it. You know, I don't, we've got plenty of conservation land in town.
and then you're taking that off the tax rolls.
Yeah, when you do that,
Give it
absolutely.
to the town, you take it off the tax rolls.
Okay, so if we strike J and we look back at I, do we still want to say that some amount of that parcel isn't built upon? Not saying that it goes back to,
No, we're taking out. Can we just put that instead of open space? Shall be set aside as common area
Or, yeah,
for the
Right.
residents of the cluster.
yeah. Residential recreation area or something.
Well, they can decide what they want to do with it, because anything that they do is gonna have a cost factor to it, so all of the homes there will have to form an association
yeah, they have
to
to do,
maintain
yeah.
that, so,
Well, didn't we do that, Lori, when we were talking with the veteran stuff? Didn't we have open space that we left for them to be able to decide what they
Yeah.
wanted to do with it?
yeah, and that was different in that when we were doing that as a project for the town.
Mhm.
And so in that area, it's town-owned land already. So that we were gonna let them do what they wanted to do, but it would be, who was gonna maintain it?
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Was it gonna be them? Well, I don't know. We didn't get that far, obviously, but
But in this respect, they could have a homeowner, or whatever you call it, association.
association,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, to take
To
care of
do
it.
what they want with the common area.
Yeah, they
which
can
is
put
just
in,
the
if they want garden areas and all that. kind
amount
of-
they can
Yeah,
build,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Spaces too.
And so K is similar, and so I think we're gonna modify this one then, or take it out. Because it says such common open land shall be preserved, and I don't think we are saying that, we're saying that they can do what they want with it, so I think we take
Exactly,
K out. Right,
Yes,
exactly.
yep, I agree. Yep.
okay. So L, no lot shown on a plan for which a permit is granted under the section may be further subdivided. It's just saying you can't make it even smaller later, right?
That's fine.
The next one is the development must receive a stormwater management permit from the planning board in accordance with, and I referenced our bylaw
Right,
for this.
Yeah, they have to.
we can't change it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it also, if you, it's on the next page, it says, also adequate provisions will be made for disposal of sewage waste and drainage in accordance with the Board of Health.
Mhm.
That's all it says.
Mhm.
Okay, so the next part is procedure for approval. So an application is saying they have to get a special permit. And that, ooh, I got my numbers are a little funny there, so I'll fix those. Yeah, you can, oh, I must have like copied and pasted. I don't know what I did there.
I don't know, but I was seeing if it spelled something.
Sorry about that. So here, so they have to have, similar, it's kind of similar to the multifamily where they have to have a definitive plan for the subdivision rules of the planning board. They need to have proposed deed restrictions in place and, it's saying whatever additional information planning board may require, and I think this is probably where I messed things up a little bit, so sorry about that. But I'm also looking obviously for a plan it says a plan submitted in harmony with the general purpose of the intent of the section. So we're looking for a plan that shows this. And we're looking, we're saying that basically the planning board will be granted it as long as the proposed residential cluster development is designed in such a manner to ensure suitable development for the neighborhood, adequate buffers and adjoining tracts and suitable open spaces. So we're gonna look at that, right?
Yep.
C, the plan submitted conforms with the standards of the minimum tract size, number of lots, dimensions, frontage. So we're saying that's part of what's gonna get special permit on.
Mm-hmm.
And then D,
Do we have to have common, open space area?
we're just saying that
Can we
we're,
have it as common area?
yeah, well, we're gonna change it in the
Unbuildable,
first one,
whatever,
so.
so just be consistent
Yeah, to
with all the
define it.
paragraphs.
Mhm. Okay, and then D, you guys take a look at that one,
Double D.
double D, yeah, because I messed things up there.
Mhm.
And then the last part is duration.
I like that. I like that D.
Yeah,
That kind of puts it very much into perspective right there.
right.
Okay.
I'm good with that too.
And then the last part is duration of approval. So I basically said in here, if you look at the next part, saying that they, it's void within 2 years of the date of issue. So we may want to think about that, but I'm just trying to make sure that like something doesn't get approved, never gets built, and then 5 years later gets built, and now something's changed and the approval is not forever, basically.
Yeah, we'd have to check with Beth on that.
So I remember there was one in West Townsend. Still not built on. That was approved and it was renewed several years in a row. All for good reason, okay?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I would put, see, if they don't do it within 2 years, they have to come back to planning for an extension.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that,
Does it say that generally somewhere, or do we need to state that?
No, it does say it in
I think it's there.
in planning. It's
Okay.
definitely there.
Okay, so we don't need to have this piece.
I'm not thinking we do, but I would check with
Yeah.
Beth on that.
Yeah, Jody will.
Okay, thank you. The second paragraph here I have is basically if at any time during construction that for unforeseen condition, it has to be significantly modified, that they have to come back for those modifications. Okay,
Makes sense.
and so that is all I've got for now.
Well, that was great.
It was. I agree, Courtney. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
You're welcome. And I'll go through and make the edits that we talked about
Okay,
and send around a new draft. which I should be faster at than this last one because most of it's here now. Just, yeah.
I'm just trying to think. If we
Of the
can,
open space police?
no, I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about what we could do quicker to
Like,
get this moving
as in-
along.
as in like submit a piece or something, like if we worked out the hammerhead piece, right, single family, we could toss over faster than, let's say, cluster, I don't know. Is that what you're thinking? Instead of submitting it
No,
all three,
I just want cluster.
I know you do, but,
Well, I don't think the other ones are difficult.
well, yeah, I mean, I still have to make quite a bit of edits, but
Okay.
yeah.
So-
Yeah,
Why don't we do
Yeah.
that? And then can we then see what Adam has to say?
I don't see why not.
Where we are so that we're on the right track?
Hmm.
And, because at the same time, we have a couple of things going on in planning.
Mhm.
One is just, I think just regulation tweaks. But I think he also said that was bylaw, so we're probably gonna try to do the site plan tweaks. At the same time as the age restricted.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I was gonna see if whatever we decide here, if there was something we might want to incorporate there. So we're all on the same page, you
Yeah,
know? Trying to move forward together,
Mhm.
you know, kind of thing.
So I'll make these edits, I'll send it around, if you guys feel comfortable. Who is the best person to contact? Adam, I guess, from there.
I can take care of that.
Okay, so if I get it out and you guys feel comfortable with draft, Chaz can send it there. And if do we want to simultaneously send his plan, or we want to wait for feedback from him before we send stuff to plan?
Oh, I would check,
No, we could
Uh-huh.
do, I actually think we should get feedback and then send it to Adam.
feedback from us.
From planning,
Feedback from planning?
okay,
I don't see, I would like to get as close to a finished document when we send it to Adam.
Okay,
That way I mean, I'm thinking of the time it takes him to review it. If we do it the other way, we're gonna have to probably send it to him twice.
okay.
Or we could, well, no, because he'd still have to review it, so.
yeah, when you get it done.
When is the next planning board meeting?
I can tell you that,
Yeah, it's the 14th of November, but the thing is that
yes.
I have to talk to Beth because we may have to have another public hearing on might have to have another public hearing on the age restricted. Because of a couple things that he asked about, we didn't take actual votes, even though the board agreed with recommendations that were made. And basically I stated that their recommendations that were agreed upon by the board were going to be tweaked and incorporated,
You didn't make formal motions.
right?
Gotcha.
And I actually was hesitant to do that or entertain that because, you know, I wanted to get his feedback on it too. So one of the things was the reduction in the lot size. It's not that lot size of frontage, I don't know, but he said that because it wasn't noticed, whatever it was, because it wasn't noticed in the first legal notice, that we'd have to send the tweaked one and have a hearing on that. So once we do that, we may end up with a lot of things that night. Anyway, I have to work it out with Beth. So we may end up having a public hearing on the age restricted again. and with the tweaks and, the site regulations. And if we want to add anything else before we send out the public notice,
What do you think your turnaround would be, Courtney? On
I
what
think
we
I can
talked about?
probably get it done sometime next, like get it back out to you guys sometime next week. I might be able to do it this weekend, but no, but I should be able to do it sometime next week, definitely.
Okay.
okay, so.
So if I get it to you guys next week, which is the first week in November,
We can give our feedbacks. We can send our feedbacks to Courtney. Courtney can make whatever changes that we've made, and then we can pass it along if you want to the planning board.
I would do that because I have their,
Because that'll get on your 14th agenda, right?
okay.
they're pretty participatory. They really read everything.
Mhm.
Margaret and Carol and me, and so I got a good group.
And if you want, Courtney, I can draft a introductory letter to put in front of the zoning.
That would be lovely, because I'm not as good at the,
Schmoozing.
let's say, yeah, that part of writing, yeah, sucking up part.
Me neither. Surprise.
Yeah, I'm not good at that part. Okay, so it sounds like we have some next steps here for this. Any other thoughts before we move on?
Nope. Nope. Good job, everybody.
Getting there.
Are we doing more?
We have a little bit.
Okay,
We're close though.
okay. I was gonna move to adjourn. Hi. But I was
I would
ready.
say, let's, let
Okay.
me go through at least 2.2, and then we can maybe, you guys can let me know how we feel about the rest of it. So,
Oh, okay.
2.2, discuss the housing trust and housing authority joint efforts. So I did talk to Joan a little bit. She wasn't able to join us tonight, which is why she's not here.
Oh, that's what I was gonna do. I was gonna ask that could we send this to the housing trust?
Yeah, I don't see why
for
not.
Feedback? Input?
Yeah,
That and zoning, as far as I'm concerned.
I would like to send it to zoning as well, especially Mr. Cadigan.
Zoning,
And I don't even
Zoning?
have a problem sending it to Mr. Dillis either.
yeah, he offered to help.
Yeah,
So he may have suggestions to add to that.
Yep.
So, yes, could we do that? Send that draft out, because we made the comments all we wanted to tonight.
Well, I'm gonna do the revised one first.
Yeah.
I think and get it back to you guys and
Yep.
make sure we're all in agreement to what I wrote before I send it any
Okay.
further, if that's okay.
Yeah.
yep, absolutely. But I think, yeah, the more people
Planning,
that
zoning, housing, trust.
trust, yeah. And
Yeah.
Mr. Stan,
Does this one say anything about an overlay district?
No, which overlay district are you thinking of?
Okay.
The aquifer or a different one?
the whole town.
I'm telling you, I just feel like everybody should have an opportunity.
Right. Well, let's just take all of the bylaws and go over them by next week and we'll rewrite everything.
I'm just trying to make it simple,
I know.
Okay,
you know.
And I'm picking, I'm sorry.
okay, so under 2.2, so Joan wasn't able to make it tonight. I did speak with her a little bit and she felt like it would be more pertinent to get more than just us and them together, that it would be better to get ZBA planning, so all of us together,
Okay.
to talk about how to work together. So she gave me a few dates with that. That
Dates.
she had availability, so I don't know if that's something we want to try to slot in here. But it looks like, what did she give you? What did she give me? Okay, she sort of gave me the things she can't really do, so let me just, so she can't do the 28th to the 6th, which is next week, and the 11th to the 15th. And then she said she's traveling to the 14th, so that's the same time, but she could potentially do a Zoom during that time. So it's probably just after, I guess it's after any of that.
So after the 14th.
The 15th, it looks like, is the last one,
Well, we have a planning board meeting on the 14th.
right?
So if we want to try to invite everybody to, if
That-
that meeting, I can
Yeah,
talk to Beth.
Yeah.
Invite everybody to the meeting on the 14th.
That's a good idea.
right,
We might get something done.
yeah,
That's not gonna be one of your hearings, is it?
could be, right?
I don't know, because you have to post for 2 weeks before, right?
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
just
know
right
if
at
that's
that
gonna
cutoff.
get done.
Yeah.
We'll see what Beth has to say. If she does, then yeah, we can all be at the hearing. All the pertinent people will be at the hearing. So I could do that. We could have joint for the public hearing.
It's a lot, it's a
Whatever.
lot of people, but we'll do it, right?
Not everybody, I mean, we'll have it here
Yeah.
and, a lot of people will be on Zoom. and
Yeah.
that'll be it. So.
So that's the 14th.
that's
I'm
the
okay with
14th.
that.
Hey.
Okay.
What else?
2.3 MBTA community zoning. We left this one on here. I don't know if anybody has any update with everything that's been happening on this one.
You know,
I
we've
know.
been updated a number of times, and the biggest update is the fact that you can only do the 10% instead of the 20%.
Mhm.
Outside of that, I didn't.
Well,
see any-
the last update that I got was that we were taken off of the list for being an MBTA community.
Hear that one.
Is that what that letter said that was out on the 21st?
That's what I thought it read.
Oh, I thought that just told us again about the 10 and 20.
If you look on the if you look on the website now and you try to look for Townsend, and we're not on there anymore.
Interesting.
Oh,
Does that mean we can't do that overlay district?
There's no need to.
Hmm.
So we need to look at the 40R instead. That's my thought.
We need to look at something because that was something that was gonna eventually, one, be a feather in the cap to try to get grant money. And two, you got money if you did it.
Well, we need to look into I'm pretty positive that that's not in the cards for us.
I don't have that.
And that we should be looking more into the 40R. And making these suggestions for these developments, because there are some town-owned land that we might be able to, if we get these passed, we can use for clustered neighborhood.
Mhm.
Well, that I just added two of them together, didn't I? But you know what I'm saying?
It works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pocket neighborhood and clustered housing. That
I
was
know.
pretty good. I put them all together.
Yeah.
This
And
is
so-
about the 40R. This is the 40R.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
But if you look on the mass.gov and you look at MBTA communities, Townsend is no longer on that list.
I have to find out from Glenn. Because that would mean if they knocked us off, they knocked off a lot of the regional.
Yeah. Because they changed the standards on them. They changed the criteria.
Well, they changed the criteria, but I thought they lowered the numbers for us. Not that we were out of the
We're still on the
program.
map. That's really hard to see on here. Interesting.
I'm gonna,
Talk to the town administrator on that, because we had a selectmen's meeting
Yeah.
that the land use coordinator came in before he left, And he said that it's really moot. Everything that we're doing right now is moot because we don't fit the criteria now for MBTA communities. An MBTA community. I'm pretty sure he said that. Unless I had a vivid dream that that's what happened, but
Maybe that's what you wanted to happen.
no.
I don't. I'm gonna check in with Glenn on that.
Hmm.
Cause we had a realtor gathering with him. Well, it wasn't last week, but this, I'll just send him off a note and see what he says and I'll let you know.
Yep. Fill me in.
Okay. Anything else on that?
No, did you want to check something else out?
Yes,
Any correspondence?
any 2.4, okay, great. 2.5 meeting minutes. Did we have meeting minutes, Sharon?
Yeah, it was.
Yep, we had.
August.
What's the date on that?
August 17th for the meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the meetings for August 17th, 2022.
A second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Laura
Natalie
Schiffern,
Call,
yes.
Natalie Call, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
And Courtney, Bailey, yes. Thank you. Okay, and we are meeting next on the 14th at the planning board meeting.
Okay,
Okay,
excited.
okay.
Natalie, is that you, the 15089's iPhone? Okay.
Yeah, it is. I'm gonna be flying, but I'll be able to do the Zoom. I'll be out of state.
Okay.
On the
So-
14th.
Yeah, I'm flying. Yeah, my house sitter's I got a house sitter, so yes. I'm
Okay,
gonna be out for a week. So
Okay,
I'll have my computer with me, so.
great.
okay, good.
Yep. I wouldn't go anywhere without it.
Thank you very much, ladies, and Courtney,
Oh.
thank you very much. This was awesome, awesome work.
Good.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second
I'll
that.
second.
Natalie
Third.
Call, yes. All
Laura
righty.
Schiffern, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
And Courtney, Bailey, yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. See me at the V. Bye. Thank you.